Assalamu alaikum and good morning, guys. Today, what we are going to study is part of the nutritional biochemistry. What we are going to study today is about nutrition. What are the basic nutritional requirements? What are the RDAs? RDAs stands for recommended dietary allowances. And what is the concept of a balanced diet actually? So, we will jump on our discussion. And the first thing that we're going to discuss today is what are nutrients? Now, the nutrients can be defined as the food you eat is a source of different chemical components, and these chemical components are being termed as nutrients. So, nutrients can be defined as the substances found in your food that keep your body functioning. So, because as a living organism, there are a lot of functions which our body has to perform. And in order to perform these functions, we need energy. And that energy is actually being provided by food. So the components or the substances in our food which are responsible for giving us energy are being called as nutrients. Now, your body has got a different, needs for different nutrients, and there are different functions for that as well. For example, as I said, the far most important role of the nutrient is to provide you energy. So that means it's a fuel for your energy. Beside that, the body is also in continuous growth, so you need energy to grow, and nutrients are there to provide you that energy that is needed to grow. Similarly, there is a repair mechanism continuously going on in the body, and for the maintenance of the basic functions which are required for the sustainability of the life. So you can say that your body requires nutrients to fuel for energy, to help you grow, to repair yourself, and to maintain the day to day operational functions of the body. As I said, for the nutrition or for the food, balance is key. Why we call balance is key? Because the nutrients that we take on in our food, they have a wide range of molecules. And based on that, they would have difference that how much energy they provide. They have difference in terms of what kind of building blocks they are providing, and so on and so forth. So, having a concept of balance in your nutrition is key, because when you have the balanced proportion of different nutrients in your food, in this case, you will be supplied with the balanced proportion of whatever is needed for your body. So, it has been noted that for years, people held to the idea that there are good and the bad kind of nutrients. In fact, this concept of the good or bad is in fact all nutrients. They must have their own, contribution and own function within the body. Even for those nutrients we considered bad, like fats or in some cases carbs, they do have vital functions in your body. So there is no such thing called bad nutrients or good nutrients. It's about the balance. Like, you need each and every ingredient, you need each and every uh, component of your nutrient in a balanced way. So we don't say that it's a bad nutrient or a good nutrient. Rather, we say that how balanced these nutrients are in your food. So these three are the framework of a good food pyramid. First thing, as I said, is balance. What is balance? You have to eat food from all groups of the food guide pyramid, and we'll go in the detail what the food guide pyramid is. But just to let you know that your food should have composition in a way that it should have all the food guide pyramid, uh, groups within your food. The second thing is variety. Again, variety is related to somehow balance because we have to eat different food from each of the food groups like carbs, proteins, fats, etc., etc. And then there's a third thing that's called moderation. What moderation means? Eat more foods from the bottom of the pyramid and fewer and a smaller portion as you go top of the pyramid. I'm sure that you guys have got understanding of the shape of the pyramid. So the moderation is again part of maintaining which portion of the nutrient must be taken in a bigger amount and which portion must be taken in a smaller amount. So as I said that in moderation, you have to eat more from that group of the nutrients which are at the bottom of the pyramid. And as you go on the top, it becomes narrow and narrow. You need to take fewer or smaller portion of those foods which are on the top of the pyramid. So we divide essential nutrients in six categories here. In some cases, you may find out that water is not being considered as a nutrient, but in the modern biochemistry, we know that water itself doesn't provide any energy, but it is essential part of all those reactions by which you will get energy from carbs, protein, fats, and so on and so forth. So water is indirectly involved as an essential nutrient because if you take out water, then the whole metabolic machinery is not going to work. And that's why water is included as essential nutrient. So we have six group of essential nutrients within our food, which include water, carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals. Let's start with water first. We all know that water is the most abundant component of our body, and there are different values like 75 to 80% of your internal environment, the cellular environment, is composed of water. Or in other case, you can say half to 3/4 of the human body in principle consist of water. So that shows the proportion and the importance of this fluid in our body. Now there is a long list of the functions which are associated directly or indirectly with water. For example, some of them are here. Water carries nutrients to your cells and carries waste from your body. So water is a major transporter in your body. Obviously, it's not exactly water, it's water in the form of the blood or water in the form of other body fluids. Because when you talk about the blood or when you talk about other body fluids, the major composition of that is water. So, water is the main transporter for the nutrients and for the waste material going in opposite direction. Water is also important in the regulation of the body temperature, especially when it comes to warm-blooded animals. They regulate their body temperature according to the environment, and water plays a key role in this maintenance of the body temperature. The third important function is water, we all know, is a universal solvent and it dissolves almost a large variety of molecules in it. So that's why it's the best choice of the solvent for us because it dissolves vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and other long list of the nutrients. One more function of water is that it lubricates the joints. We all know that the joints, specifically those with a high mobility, they have certain fluid within them, and that fluid also contains a reasonable amount of water. According to the studies, it is recommended that a teen normally drinks 6 to 8 glasses of water per day, which is about 8 ounce. And this is in addition to around 4 cups of water you get from the food each day. So that means there is some amount of the water that you are taking with the food. And then on top of this, it's recommended to have 6 to 8 glasses of pure water to be taken in a day. The second group of the nutrient that we're going to talk about are carbohydrates. You all have studied about carbohydrates in 311, so I'm not going to go in much of the detail, but just quickly go through some of the few important points. We know that the carbohydrates have two important things when it comes to food. Number one, carbohydrates are the main source of energy for our body. And secondly, carbohydrates, they are considered as staple food. What is staple food? The staple food is the one which is not only going to give you energy, but it is also essentially required to fulfill your hunger requirements. So when you look at your diet, either in the form of the rice or in the form of the bread, your main portion of the food is carb. So it's not only going to give you the energy, but it's also fulfilling the requirement of the hunger, and that's why we call it staple food. So uh, there are different food sources of the carbs which are being mentioned here: pasta, bread, cereals, grain, rice, fruits, milk, yogurt, and sweets. Broadly classifying, when it comes to the diet, carbs are being divided into two types, which are being called as complex carbohydrates, which include starches like starch, glycogen, and etc. And then simple carbohydrates, which could be mono and disaccharides in the form of the sugars coming from the fruits, etc., etc. So simple carbohydrates are those which I said normally have mono or disaccharide units, and their food sources include fruits, like there are many sugars in the fruits, like fructose, sucrose, and many more. Juices, milk, yogurt, candy, soda, any jellies. These are the things that have simple carbohydrates in them. These simple carbohydrates have a bad reputation because they are high in calories and low in nutritional value, and that you have, mostly heard that we need to prevent ourselves from eating, white sugar, whether it comes in the form of soft drinks or sodas or jellies or chocolates, and so on and so forth. So they do have a monosaccharide and disaccharide, but their nutritional value is low and their caloric value is high. So when it comes to your body weight, they play a major role in increase of the body weight. That's why people try to keep themselves away from these simple carbs in their daily use. The other group of the carbs are the starches or the complex carbohydrates. They are the main primary food source of the carbs in our body, which include whole grain bread, cereals, pasta, vegetables, rice, and many more. They are actually an excellent source of the fuel or the energy for the body, and they are also having rich sources of vitamins, minerals, and fiber along with the carbs. So it's a complementary package. When you have the starches or the complex carbohydrates, you are getting good quality carbs, and on top of this, you're also getting vitamins, minerals, and fiber with that. Now, you must have heard of the fiber a lot nowadays, and it's very good for your health and very good for your gastrointestinal tract. What is actually fiber? Fiber is the plant material that doesn't break down when you digest food. So, fiber comes in a package with carbs. When you eat carbs, your body will digest the carbs into their monosaccharide units. But that fiber portion that's coming with the carb is not normally being digested by your body. And many, but not all, of the complex carbs, they do have fiber content in them. The good sources of the fiber content along with the carbs is actually oatmeal, fruits, vegetables, whole grain, and legumes. So you must have heard about brown bread, whole grain bread, oatmeal. These are the things that have carbs plus a reasonably good amount of fiber in it. What actually fiber will do in the body, as we said, that they're not going to be break down just like when you digest the food. They actually help in the digest. They themselves do not get digested, but they help in the process of digestion. They also have a very important role in reducing the risk of developing some diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, obesity, and many other types of the cancer. And it also helps promote regularity. Regularity means the functioning of the gastrointestinal tract. The third group of the nutrient that we're going to discuss today are proteins. Again, you have gone through proteins in your 311. Proteins are also a good source of energy, like carbs, but they are predominantly more important when it comes to the structure of the body, because we know that structurally our body needs protein, and for that protein we need amino acids, and the protein that we consume in our diet are the primary source of those amino acids which we actually utilize to synthesize our own protein required by the body. So the food sources which are rich in protein, all meat sources, fish, egg, poultry, dairy products, legumes, nuts and seeds, breads and cereals also have some amount of protein in them as well. So as I said that they do have the function of giving energy almost equivalent to the carb molecule, but their more important function is to build, maintain, and repair body tissues. So we know that proteins are made up of 20 repeating units, what we called amino acids, and the dietary proteins are the important source of providing those 20 amino acids. Now, these 20 amino acids you have studied in your 311, that some of them you are capable of synthesizing in your body. We call them non essential amino acids. And there are certain which you cannot synthesize. That means you must require those amino acids coming through the diet, and we call them essential amino acids. Now, the proteins can be of two types as well, complete and incomplete proteins. The complete proteins are the one that has all the essential amino acids in it. Primarily, the protein coming from the animal sources, from the meat sources, are of that category. While the incomplete proteins are the one which may lack one or more than one of the essential amino acids, they are primarily coming from the plant sources. That's why the proteins from the animal are called the first quality protein, and the animals coming from the plant sources are called the second quality proteins. So the best way to give the body a complete set of proteins is to have the blend of food, as I said again, having both meat products and the vegetables to give an adequate balance of the amino acids. The next group of the nutrient we're going to talk about is fat. Normally, when it comes to fat, we have a perception, as I said earlier on, that it's a bad nutrient. But that's a wrong concept, because you have studied in 312 that fat itself is a group within the lipids, because the bigger group is the lipids, and fats is one kind of the lipids. And we have studied that lipids do have very important and essential function in the body as well. So it's not always considering about that it's a bad nutrient, rather it's about to consider that how you're going to consume that and in what proportion you're going to consume that. That's what the most important thing is. In terms of the energy, the fats are the richest molecule when it comes to the energy output, and they have almost the double energy as compared to carbs and proteins. The sources of the fat include butter, all categories of oils, salad dressing, nuts and seeds, dairy products, and meats as well. They, as I said, do have a lot of functions in the body, Like they provide substances required for growth and healthy skin, enhance the taste and texture of the food. Like, you might have seen that non-oily food generally don't taste good, and that's how this oil, and the fats giving the food a bit of a good texture and enhance the taste. It is required to carry the fat soluble vitamins through the body, because fat soluble vitamins are also essential, and they can only be carried in the body with the fats, because like dissolve like. And they provide energy. As I said, it's almost a twice amount of energy as that of the proteins and the carbs. Now there are different types of the fats. Some of them you already have gone through when we discussed about the lipids earlier on. We know saturated fats, we know unsaturated fats. Saturated fats where all the valencies of the carbon are satisfied with a single covalent bond, and animal foods and tropical oils are of this category. Saturated fats are usually solid at room temperature. Now, this type of the fat is most strongly linked to the elevated level of the cholesterol, and that's how the increased level of the cholesterol can be correlated with increased level of the heart diseases or the myocardial infarction, etc. The other category is of the unsaturated fats, which may have one or more than one unsaturation at different points. You have studied about saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids earlier on. Unsaturated fats are normally liquid at room temperature. They may have more than one unsaturation, so we call them polyunsaturated fats. They are the best quality fats actually. The food sources for them are the vegetables and fish oils, and they provide two essential fatty acids which are necessary for the body functions. If you remember, oleic acid and linoleic acid. Then we have monosaturated fats, the name itself indicating that they have only one unsaturation. Food sources include olive oil, canola oil, nuts, seeds, and they also have a role in reducing the risk of the heart diseases. Cholesterol is a very important molecule. Whenever the term fats or lipids is brought in consideration, we think about cholesterol. And we have already studied in detail in the lipid that cholesterol is a complex lipid. Rather, it's a drive lipid as well, where they have a four-ring sterol nucleus. Cholesterol is the most abundant animal sterol, as we studied earlier on, and we also know about the function of that cholesterol in the body. Uh, some of the functions are being listed again here. It helps the body make necessary cells, including skin and hormones. Helps in digestion when it comes to bile acid and bile salts. They are the derivative of cholesterol. The human body manufactures all the cholesterol it needs. You also get cholesterol from the animal food you eat as well. But yeah, on the other hand, when this cholesterol level increases too much, then it can give rise to a high risk of coronary heart diseases or myocardial infarction, or atherosclerosis where the arteries are blocked. So you need to have a balance about healthy cholesterol range as per your age limits, and how you balance your HDL and LDL level to keep the things going good. One important function, if you remember last time I told you that cholesterol is an important structural component of all cell membrane, and the fluid nature of the cell membrane is actually responsible because of the cholesterol. So we see that it's very important as well. The next group is vitamins. Vitamins are uh, accessory cofactors. Their food sources include fruits, vegetable, milk, whole grain bread, cereals, and legumes. Vitamins, unlike carbs, fats, and protein, they themselves do not have any calorie, but they are essentially required to produce energy from carbs, fats, and proteins. So I would say that their role is very important, because in their absence, the metabolic machinery will not function properly, and you would not be able to get a good output of energy from carbs, fats, and proteins in absence of the vitamins. So their functions that it helps regulate many chemical processes, as I said, the metabolic pathways. There are 13 different vitamins which are required each day for a good health. And vitamins are separated in two groups as fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins. Now, this is actually their criteria based on their solubility, and we'll quickly go through that. Fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E, and K. Of course, they require fat in order to be transported for the stomach and for the stomach to absorb them and enter into the bloodstream. Fat soluble vitamins can be stored in the body for later use as well. That's why increased level of the fat soluble vitamins can be a cause for certain clinical conditions. Water soluble vitamins include vitamin C, vitamin B complex. Uh, they require water for their absorption. They can be easily absorbed and passed through the body as waste. So, increased intake of the water soluble vitamins is not as problematic as increased intake of the fat soluble vitamins. Now, quickly go through a few of the types. Vitamin A. Vitamin A, the food sources include dark green leafy vegetables, deep yellow and orange fruits, vegetables, liver, milk, cheese, and egg. And also the picture, which is in all the slides, but fixed here, this carrot. Carrot is a good source of precursor of the vitamin A. The functions in the body, it helps keep skin and hair healthy, uh, very important, required for the night vision property, and plays a role in developing strong bonds and teeth. Vitamin D is from vitamin D fortified milk. Nowadays, they are available. Egg yolk, salmon, liver, and the non-food source is sunlight. The sun is a natural precursor. When we go in the sun, we have the precursor molecule within our body under the skin, and the sun can transform that into vitamin D. Functions the body is help use calcium and phosphorus metabolism, plays an important role in building strong bones and teeth. Vitamin E, the sources include whole grain bread, cereals, dark green leafy vegetables, dry beans, peas, nuts and seeds, vegetable oil, and so on and so forth. A very important role is to help form red blood cells, muscles, and other tissues. That's why you might have seen that all the skin care related products essentially have vitamin E in them. And vitamin K comes from the dark green leafy vegetables, spinach, lettuce, collard greens, and cabbage, etc. A very important function of the vitamin K is that it helps in blood clotting mechanism, which is a natural preventive mechanism to avoid the blood loss. Vitamin B complex is a group of vitamins which includes many like B1, B2, B5, B6. We're not going in that detail at this stage. Their food sources are the whole grain and enriched bread, cereals, dry beans, peanut butter, nuts, poultry, fish, etc. They help the body use the energy from the food we eat. Now, this is actually the vitamin B complex. They are that particular group of the vitamins which I mentioned earlier on that they are required for the complete metabolism of getting energy out of carbs, proteins, and fats. And they are most of the time cofactors which are required by the enzymes to produce that energy from the energy molecules. It helps brain, nerves, and muscle functions as well. Vitamin C comes from mostly citrus fruits, strawberries, kiwis, tomato, potato, lemon, broccoli, etc. They are very, very good antioxidant. Vitamin C helps heal wounds, healthy bones and teeth, helps body fight infection. So nowadays you might have heard of eating vitamin C a lot during this COVID-19 pandemic because it's all about building up the immunity and vitamin C is required for that. The next group of the food nutrients are minerals. Minerals are also something similar in their function as vitamins. They themselves directly do not produce energy, but they are the part of those metabolic reactions which actually produce energy. And that's why, just like the vitamins, they can also be cofactors for certain enzymes in order to carry out a metabolic reaction which ultimately gives you energy, or which ultimately is essential for the body. So the mineral food sources include meats, beans, nuts, fruits, vegetables, dairy products, and grains. Uh, the body depends on minerals for practically almost every process which is necessary for life. For example, there is a mechanism of transportation within the cell membrane which requires sodium potassium pump. These are minerals. Then we have the generation of electric impulse in the neurons that involves minerals. Then there's a muscle contraction and relaxation that involves minerals. So, and you have seen the role of magnesium, manganese, iron in when it comes to hemoglobin, calcium when it comes to bones, phosphorus when it comes to bones and teeth. So there's a long list of minerals that come into your mind which are essentially and practically necessary for life. Minerals usually become part of the body, and the body requires 16 minerals daily. These are few of the minerals which I listed: calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, iron, and minor includes iodine, zinc, copper, sulfur, chloride, and so on and so forth. So they are everywhere in the body when it comes to their functions. Few of the details regarding calcium as phosphorus, you must have heard of them. Dairy products are the source of them, including milk, cheese, green leafy vegetables, cane, sardines, and other processed fish items. They help build and maintain healthy bones and teeth. The most important function of calcium is phosphorus. It helps heart, nerves, and muscles work properly as well. The deficiency or the lack of calcium and phosphorus leads to a disease called osteoporosis. You must have heard of that. Iron sources are liver, kidney, heart, meat, egg yolk, spinach, dried fruit, etc., etc. Function wise, it helps make hemoglobin in the red blood cells, the most important function of the iron in the form of the ferritin. And this helps cells to carry oxygen, from the lungs to the different cells. The deficiency of the iron leads to a very common disorder, and that's being called as anemia. Then we have sodium. It's almost there in all prepared food in the form of the salt, and in pickles and sausages, hot dog. Texture of the food is also being improved by adding sodium. It's also the part of, as I said, table salt. So any table salt, including product, would have the sodium in this, and naturally, it's present in the meat, poultry, dairy products, etc. Sodium is also a very important mineral. It helps maintain the right balance of the fluid in the body, maintaining the osmotic pressure on the inner side and the outer side of the cell, help transmit nerve impulses in the form of, when the neurons are connected from one neuron to carry out the messages. It also influences the contraction and relaxation of the muscles. The excess of the sodium can be a problem, and it can lead to hypertension because of the osmotic balance disturbance that is called high blood pressure, a condition that can lead to cardiovascular and kidney disorders later on. Now, finally, when you talk about the nutrient deficiency, now we have gone through all the groups of the nutrients, and we tried to have a look on, how these nutrients perform their function and what are their main sources. So we finally concluded at this point that the concept of the balanced food is very important, because each and every component of this diet has got its own role, and that's why the WHO has provided a value what I called earlier on RDA, recommended dietary allowance. So you can find out on the internet about RDA for these all groups of the nutrients that we have discussed, that how much is the minimum amount of that particular nutrient needed by an individual, a healthy individual, in one day. So, of course, if there is a disturbance in that, that will lead to nutritional deficiency or nutrient deficiency. So, a nutritional deficiency occurs when your body doesn't get enough of the nutrients it requires. And there could be many symptoms. Some of them, at first, you may not seem very serious, but if this deficiency go on for a prolonged period, that will result in some of the symptoms to come up, like tiredness, uh, sleeping patterns are disturbed, and frequent colds, low immunity, weight loss, or weight gains. However, if the deficiency is not corrected, the symptoms can get even worse and have the serious effects on the skin, eyes, and bones, and the metabolic machinery of the body. So, the best way to avoid a nutrient deficiency is to have the concept of balanced diet. So, with this, we have completed this discussion about nutrient and nutritional biochemistry. So, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask the question, and afterward, we will finish the class. So, now it's open for the question. Just raise your hand. Okay, so there are no questions, so we're gonna stop the class here, and inshallah, see you tomorrow with the same time, 8:30. Thank you very much for the Hafiz.